Hello again, today we recap the action epic 300. Like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. The opening voiceover of 300 explains how Spartan boys develop into true Spartan men. When the child is born, a Spartan baby inspector carefully examines him over a cliff where hundreds of feet below are the bones of dead infants who didn't pass the test. The infant will be killed if there are any indications of weakness, illness, or other issues. The boys begin fighting and training at a young age, and when they turn 7, they are taken away from their mothers to undergo an initiation of rites before they can return home. This initiation of rites includes being whipped without showing emotion and being left outside in the cold and snow to fend for themselves. Sparta is going about its daily business when a Persian messenger asks to speak with King Leonidas as he passes through the city. In his hands, he holds the skulls of other deceased leaders. Xerxes, the Persian god/king who has already destroyed thousands of cities, including other Greek cities like Athens, wants the people of Sparta to submit to him, the messenger and his guards explain as they are led before the king. The messenger becomes agitated when Queen Gorgo makes a remark and questions how a woman can speak in such a way among men. She responds, Spartan women are the ones who give birth to real men, to the messenger's question. King Leonidas turns on the messenger and points his spear in his face, forcing the Persian to retreat to the edge of the dark pit you saw in the trailer after warning him to think carefully before answering Xerxes' questions of Sparta. This is blasphemy, the messenger cries, and you cannot kill a messenger. Leonidas roars back, this is Sparta, and then he front kicks the Persian, and his guards, into the pit. The oracle and the ephors, who are the gods' priests and who are more creature than man, must be consulted by the king even if he wants to go to war, according to a law in Sparta. The oracle is the most attractive young woman in Sparta, but her beauty is also her curse because she is compelled to live in the mountains with the ugly ephors, who are frequently inebriated or high on drugs, in order to be able to predict these truths or futures. Following his explanation of his plan to travel to the north to encircle Xerxes' army and after giving the ephors some gold, Leonidas scales the mountains and asks what the oracle says. She is the ethereal woman in white who appears to be submerged in water. Sparta will fall, she predicts. He should not engage in combat when a celebration is imminent, according to the ephors. The king is frustrated because he cannot do nothing but sit still. One of the councilmen, Heroine, is seen in the following scene paying the ephors with gold, obtained from the Persians, in exchange for telling the king that he cannot go to war. The king and queen don't trust Heroine, as you can already tell from earlier scenes, and that's understandable considering that he ends up being a Spartan traitor. The following morning, Leonidas and his captain are going through his 300-man army. The king remarks that one of the men is the captain's son and that he is too young and has not yet fully experienced the warmth of a woman, but the captain insisted that he engage in combat. The son appears to be proud to be among these incredibly powerful-looking warriors. Heroine and the other council members approach the king and inquire about his activities. Heroine asserts that the oracle has spoken and if he is aware of the rules. The king claims that these 300 men are merely his personal bodyguards and that he is simply out for a stroll. The king responds, to the north when Heroine sarcastically asks, where he'll be walking to. In response, Heroine says, you mean to the hot gates, knowing the Persians are arriving by sea, and there is a small opening on the beach surrounded on all sides by enormous rocks, that leads to the city. The enemy can only enter through the small opening because there is no other way. The king and his 300 Spartans plan to be positioned there. The queen gives Leonidas her necklace before they leave and instructs him to come back with his shield or on it. They encounter the Arcadians as they are marching away. The Arcadian leader claims they are here to join Sparta in its battle with Xerxes after hearing about it. He is however taken aback by the king's lack of accompanying men. This illustrates the Spartans' haughtiness and arrogance. One of the Arcadia soldiers is questioned by Leonidas about his occupation. A sculptor, he replied. A blacksmith was one of the others. Another replied that he is a potter. Inquiring as he turns to face his 300-man army, Leonidas asked them their line of work. The Arcadians are greeted with a resounding roar. And the king declares, you see, I brought more soldiers than you, Arcadian. As a result of the Arcadians display admiration, and everyone marches down to the water's edge. The queen wants to speak with the council members in the interim to urge them to send an army to support Leonidas in his struggle against the Persian army. She asks one of the council members to try and call the meeting, and he replies that she will be able to speak in 2 days. That the king might not have 2 days is what she says. The Arcadians begin to question their abilities when they finally arrive at the beach area and notice how many Persian boats are in the water. The Arcadians initially rejoice when the Greek gods send a powerful storm to flip and destroy some of those boats that night, but when morning came, It appeared that the number of boats had not decreased. The other Spartan men are content because they can only anticipate finding their equal, someone who can give them a reason to die beautifully. They want to pass away for their country and a worthy cause. Someone from Xerxes' army approaches them as they are building a wall of stone and once more orders Sparta to kneel before Xerxes. Informing that in exchange for them laying down their weapons and looking to him as their leader, Xerxes, who admires their haughtiness and strength, promises to make Sparta the richest city and to leave the city's women and children alone. Before realizing that between the stones are the dead bodies of some soldiers from the Persian army who were in charge of keeping watch, the messenger makes fun of the stone wall the Spartans are erecting. The messenger is angered at the discovery and raises his whip to punish the Spartan. His arm is severed by one of the Spartans, who then commands him to inform Xerxes that the battle has just begun. Ephialtes, a monster with a hunched back who wants to assist in the battle, informs the king that there is still another gap that the Persians can use to enter. He makes a powerful thrust with his spear but is unable to lift the large shield he is carrying. The king claims that he cannot fight alongside the Spartans because they use their shields to protect not only themselves but also the man to their left, rendering Ephialtes useless because he is unable to raise his shield, extremely upsetting Ephialtes. We see a powerful display of strength from the Spartans in the first battle. With no casualties, they easily defeated the army. The rest of the Persian army fires so many arrows that they completely block the sun while the laughing Spartans catch their breath. The Spartans repel the arrows collectively with their shields while denouncing the attackers as cowards. Xerxes emerges to meet Leonidas while both sides take a break to recover and remove the dead from the battlefield. Xerxes, a 7-foot-tall god king, is bald and pierced. He again offers Leonidas the chance to kneel to him, but the king declines, saying his thighs are sore from defeating the first Persian army. Xerxes, who is now furious, declares that he will destroy Sparta and that no one on earth will ever hear of them or recognize them, and people who even mention King Leonidas or the Spartans will have their tongues and eyes cut out, and before long, no one will remember them. The immortals are the next enemy to be fought. They are soulless creatures with black eyes and fang-like teeth. Their special weapon is this enormous chained-up monster, and they wear black and gold masks. Despite suffering some casualties, the Spartans easily defeat these adversaries. The narrator claims that Xerxes, the godlike deity, experiences a human chill up his spine as he watches on. The Persians use a variety of weapons in the ensuing battles, including magic, elephants that have traveled halfway around the world, rhinos, and monsters, to exert as much force as they can, to no avail. In order to discipline his generals, Xerxes chops off their heads when they report that the army is losing. The Spartan captain's son loses his head in one of the battles, and he sobs in agony as his heart is torn apart. To remove him from his son, 3 men are needed. King Leonidas calls out to one of his men, Delios, who was hurt in one of the fights. Delios responds, "It's just an eye," when the king asks about his well-being. In order to tell everyone about the 300 men, the king orders him to go back home. Even though he is sad that he won't see his wife again, the king is glad to be fighting for Sparta, even though he knows they are going to die. He hands Delios the necklace his wife gave him so he can give it back to her. Theron is currently meeting with the queen. He asks if it is poison when she offers him something to drink. He asserts that the councilmen won't ever permit an army to go to the king and implies that if she sleeps with him, he can convince them otherwise. He asks for her permission and begins to roughly have relations with her while warning her that, "This will not be over quickly, it won't appeal to you as I'm not your king." Ephialtes, the hunchback, has gone to Xerxes. There are orgies, slaves, concubines, contortionists, belly dancers, and more in Xerxes' tent. He is in awe of everything Xerxes has to offer: wealth, women, and the chance to engage in combat if he will only submit to him. Ephialtes concurs and informs him of the second opening, where the Persian army can easily defeat the Spartans. The council members and the queen meet the following day. She makes a powerful argument for why they ought to permit the army to go assist the king. Some of the council members are moved by what she is saying and are beginning to concur with her. Theron mock applauds her as she finishes her speech. Because she slept with him, he turns the tables on her and says that no one should listen to her. He claims that she approached him and offered herself to him, but that because he is an honest man, he declined her. When she becomes upset, he commands 2 guards to grab her and carry her out of the room. She then attempts to attack him. Because she is the queen, they release her. Once she is free, she takes one of their swords and stabs Theron in the abdomen. "This won't be over quickly," she says as she draws him in and drives the sword even deeper. "You won't like it. I'm not your king." He loses his money pouch when she pulls out the sword, and the Persian coins used to bribe him fall with him. The news spreads quickly after the other councilmen pick up one of the coins and realize he is a traitor. There are only the king and the remnants of his army left as the Arcadians cowardly depart camp. The 300 Spartans are surrounded by the Persian army. Once more, Xerxes appears to please for Leonidas to prostrate himself before him. The king looks at him and smiles. This time, however, Leonidas removes his helmet, sets down his shield and spear, and kneels. But only to gather himself as his huddled Spartan men break away and one of them runs up and jumps on Leonidas's back to spear the minion to death. The king throws his spear, slicing through Xerxes' cheek but not killing him, as everyone recommences fighting. With his hand raised over his bleeding face, Xerxes reacts in surprise. Spartans fall one by one, including the king. One of his men says to him, "It is an honor to die at your side." The king responds, "It was an honor to live at your side." The rest of the Persian army kills him after he turns to face the sun and utters his final words, "My love." They make sure all the Spartans are dead by firing a zillion arrows into the air once more. In addition to spreading the word about their victory, Delios returns home to give the queen the necklace. The story ends a year later, when the Spartan army appears to be under Delios' command and is preparing to engage the Persians once more. However, this time there are countless numbers of Spartans, and when ordered, they charge into battle. Like, share and subscribe for more recap videos.